Thank you for tuning in and joining us for today's KTH 910 AM interview of the week here on the Guadalupe Radio Network. My name is Dave Palmer. I am the host of this program and the executive director of this station, and delighted in both of those capacities. Our producer is Sophie Keshi. She's also our assistant manager, and we always like ideas for this program. You can email me anytime, davepalmer@grnonline.com. What I love about this program is the eclecticness, if that's a word. We have so many different topics and guests, and I just love every one of them. And today we're going to talk about local Catholic music, and we have a local Catholic music artist in our midst. He's in the studio with me. His name is Cooper Ray, and yes, that's his real name. And his website is easy enough, cooperray.com, Cooper and then ray.com. He and his wife Laura have two young sons, 6 and 4 years old, and they are parishioners at St. Anne's in Capel. And lived in Lexington, Kentucky for a while, but have lived here for a while. And I also think it's important to note that just recently, in the last few weeks, Cooper took on a role as Associate Director of Discipleship for the Office of Youth, Young Adult, and Campus Ministry for the Diocese of Dallas. Say that 5 times.
I know, right? That's a mouthful for sure.
Well, thanks for being here. Good. I love talking to musicians because I have no talent in that area, so I can just kind of look from the outside and I heard some of your music before we started. You got a great voice.
Thank you so much.
And I also love that you're using your talent for God's glory, and that's so important. So thank you for that as well.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. You and your wife, you got a couple kids. You're doing a lot, but tell us a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, as far as like from the music standpoint, I was at this small Catholic school when I lived in Lexington, and I was one of 2 guys in the choir, and I can't remember if it was because I truly enjoyed it or if I wanted to get out of class or
meet a lot of girls.
That's exactly right. So. And even at that moment in those times, I just always liked singing, and it wasn't until I actually worked beyond once I graduated from high school. I went out and worked at the Pines Catholic Camp in East Texas, and it was there that I learned how to play the guitar. Up to that point, I'd played piano and viola and cello, but I didn't carry any of those through. And so when I learned how to play the guitar and started leading music out at the camp, that's kind of when music started to become a little bit more serious in my life. And at the time when I was at the camp, my whole role was really just to play the interactive hand motion songs that every camp had.
Happy clappy.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I would sing some songs for prayer services and everything. So anytime any of the cabins, when they would lead prayer service for the entire camp, I was kind of the go-to guy at the time. Yeah. And then through the times, through the days, I ran into and met some great people. Steve Angersano, a mentor and great friend of mine, Josh Blakesley, and then finally met Tom Booth before recording my first CD, Wake the Dawn. So, and just my connection with them, and then getting picked up as an artist with Oregon Catholic Press through Spirit and Song, and then now we're, that was about 8-9 years ago, and so now I'm here.
That's a big deal, getting signed up with a label. I mean, that's every musician's dream, right?
It is, and it never was mine, to be honest with you, though.
Well, that's everybody but yours.
That's right. I just, I wrote, that my first CD, Wake the Dawn, was just kind of, I traveled around the country for many years and still do, leading retreats and music and parish missions and things like that. And I would go places and people go, "Oh my gosh, your voice sounds great. We love your music. Do you have a CD?" And so I was like, I don't. So the first CD was just more of like, hey, I just need to have a CD because people are asking for music. So maybe I should actually sit down and write something.
Right.
And so that's where the first CD came from, which is, just kind of this thing. People wanted some music to
give
take
the people
home
what
with
they
them.
want, right?
Yeah. Whether it was good or bad, I guess it ended up being pretty good because, like I said, OCP wanted to at least pick it up from the standpoint of distributing it.
Yeah. Well, writing music, and coming up with the music and singing it, those are three different things, right? And you do all three?
Yes.
You perform, you write the music, and you also write the lyrics. And I think from my limited knowledge, as I talked about, that's kind of rare in the same person, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's well, I think a lot of times, you might hear in the secular music industry, that people will have, a writer who will write songs for the artist. But among the Catholic artists that I spend a lot of time with and call friends, we all write our own music and we all perform it. And so the music and the lyrics. Now, what we do sometimes is that we'll do a co-write. So say if I have an idea for a song, I'll write down the words, write down the lyrics, write the song, record it on a little, on my iPhone, and then I'll shoot it off to somebody who I'm thinking, who could I have a co-write with this on, and who would be able to contribute to this, and so then I send it back over to them, and then they work with it and they send it back, and so that's kind of where the second CD that we're talking about today with Anywhere for You kind of started. I knew I didn't want it to be just about me. I wanted to write songs for the church.
Yeah.
And in order to write songs for the church, I needed to write songs with people who were doing the same thing that I was doing. So I paired up with Steve Angersano and Tom Booth and Josh Blakeslee, Sarah Hart, Ben Walther. I mean, all these guys are amazingly talented, and they all do what I do, and so it was great to be able to pair with them because, the two working together really make a great product where one, where I by myself, like I have my limits, and but I'm really good at putting a lump of clay on the board and say, hey, let's spin it and see if we can both
let's see what we can make with this. Yeah. Cooper Ray is my guest. He is a local Catholic musician. As I mentioned, he also works for the Diocese of Dallas. Just recently came on Jason Duderman. You might remember I've had him in studio before a couple of times. But Cooper works as the Associate Director of Discipleship for the Office of Youth, Young Adult, and Campus Ministry. And you mentioned that you write songs for the church, and so what's kind of the purpose and the goal when you put pen to paper and you start you picture the audience in front of you? What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, I picture a parish. I picture being at Mass, and so there's a certain tone and feel to a song that you would sing in the confines of a liturgy versus what you would just normally hear on the radio, something more upbeat and poppy. And so I obviously the lyric is a huge part of it, that you want it to be authentic to our Catholic faith, and you want it to speak to a particular part of if you wanted to be sung at Mass, you wanted to speak to a particular part of the liturgy, whether it be at the beginning or the end, the entrance or the setting song, or an offertory, or some, even a communion song. So there's certain elements and there's certain lyrics and words that you would use in those moments and in those in the song for you to say, okay, this is going to be a gathering. This is going to be here at the communion
offertory,
song.
recessional,
And so it's a little bit different because it's not necessarily free form. It's not like I just got it in. I'm coming up with an inspired piece that it could just be played on the radio. I think there's definitely intentionality, and it kind of boxes you in just a little bit. But again, the goal being, I want the everyday churchgoer who is dealing with the same struggles that we are all dealing with, the non-churchy, people to be able to resonate with the song and be able to say, that speaks to my life, that speaks to my heart. And not only that, but it not be so complicated that it's not singable. And that's what you want. You want it to be catchy, singable, and in some ways, not too complex in the wording and the lyric.
Yeah, the Christian music industry is pretty huge right now.
Right.
Largely Protestant. When you think of the Michael W. Smiths or the Curtis Chapman or the Toby Mac or Holland or some of the artists, mostly Catholic, mostly Protestants.
Right.
But Matt Maher, kind of the Catholic breakthrough artist.
Sure.
Is the Catholic Christian music industry, is it coming alive? I mean, I know there's a lot of great ones, but as far as name recognition and people that, or is that even a goal of people that, we want to get on KLTY or,
right.
or
I think it is. I obviously you mentioned Matt Maher, who is really just a trailblazer in his own right, just to be able to do what he has done. And certainly I think that shifted a lot of people's focus thinking, wait, we can do this? Like, wait, okay. Now that
they'll play our music?
just totally opened up another realm of possibility.
Yeah.
And certainly there are people in the Catholic music industry who are extremely talented, who have, just their ability and their giftedness and their voices are on par with everything that we hear on Christian radio. And I don't know why though that they haven't gotten picked up necessarily, but certainly there are some that's what they aspire toward. And like you said, Matt Maher, he just kind of is in a place on his own. But there's definitely guys that want to, and women who want to follow in his footsteps for sure.
Cooper Ray is my guest, local Catholic musician, singer, songwriter. CooperRay.com is his website, and his first CD. He said I can say album, okay, even though I'm 50. He said it's the young people are still calling them albums. So
the young people, but the industry people.
Wake the Dawn. You told us about the inspiration for that, which is funny. The people just wanted you to put out a CD.
Right.
Now, Anywhere for You. You mentioned that one time. The most recent, the second of your 2 CDs. Tell us about that and some of the songs. And we're going to play a couple of clips here in a moment.
So this was a labor of love. In 2012, I was ready to start, and OCP was ready to start with my second CD.
Yeah.
And they were ready to rock with it. And so I wrote for it and brought it to them. And they were like, oh, yeah, this sounds really good. But I was not convinced. There was something missing. There were aspects of it. And I just kind of pushed it to the side for a couple of years. And so what happened then is in that time, I think my heart, my maturity of my mind and my maturity in writing music changed significantly. And my concept about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to go about writing music changed a lot. And so it went from being that, I need the second album to be really, really good, to be, it was about me in 2012. But once I made the transition to it can't be about me, and I don't want it to be about me. And so let me surround myself with people who are doing this as well. And that's when I started to think, well, I'm just going to get co-writes on every single song. And so all but one was a co-write with somebody, and it just and there was something about that synergy. Synergy of the two working together. Even on one of the songs, there was 5 of us working on it. And some people go, "Oh my gosh, well, you just totally lost all your royalties there by." And it's like, I just really don't care. What I really care about is I really just want people to love the music and want to sing it and want to use it. And if there's royalties connected to it, well, that's gravy to me. But that's not why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And I do encourage people to buy the CD. You can get it at CooperRay.com. I don't know if it's in the Catholic bookstores, probably some of the big online portals. You can get it as well, but go to his website. You can order it there, CooperRay.com. Anywhere for You. Let's play a couple of the clips. Now, we can only play a very small portion of it, but people will get the feeling of it. Why don't we start with the title track, Anywhere for You. Tell us a little bit about the background of this one.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't know if we were going to play it right now. So I think the background to this particular song is that we are called to strive for perfection. That is what we are looking for. And so to say, the song is, I will go anywhere for you. That's as simple as the song. Whether you lead me to the mountains or to the valley, to the water or to the desert, Lord, I'm going to go wherever you lead me. Well, that's really great in theory, but obviously hard to do in practice. And but that should be our goal, right? We should be seeking that perfection of of our striving to be to fall in line with God's will in every aspect of our life, and to fall in line with God's will and wherever He would take us. And obviously, it's not the easiest thing to do, but I think those lofty reminders are really great. So I think that's part of the inspiration behind writing that song.
All right, here's a little clip of it, Anywhere for You, from the CD called Anywhere for You.
If you send to the mountain, to the highest place, I will not forget my weakness is my very strength. If you take me to the valley where the dark is close, I will trust beyond my sight. Lord, your word will be my light. I will go anywhere for you.
All right, that's just a small portion of it, but that's Anywhere for You. The artist is Cooper Ray. He's in studio with me here on the Interview of the Week. And the other one that we're going to play a portion of is called You Call Me. And so tell us about this one a little bit.
Yeah, the inspiration came from the call of Samuel.
Yeah.
Where he is, the Lord's like, Samuel, Samuel, and he goes to Eli, and Eli's like, I didn't call you, and so it's not a new concept. There are so many, in fact, I was back and forth between calling it "Here Am I," and so I was gently instructed to say, well, you know what? There's so many of those "Here Am I, Lords" or "Here I Am, Lords." Why don't we go with something a little bit different? And but it is just that surrender. First of all, the recognition of God's voice and His calling in our life, and then our response to it. That we've been anointed from through our baptism, priest, prophet, and king, and we're called to respond to that faithfully, and so really that's it. God's voice is ever present. We just need to tune into it and be able to respond to that call. And so when it's like, you call me, Lord, wherever you lead me. So there's a lot of interaction between the songs, obviously between these two especially.
All right, here's a snippet of it. You Call Me, from the CD Anywhere for You.
Relieving burdens, healing the hurting, blessing the world with peace. Speak, Lord, I am listening. Here am I, Lord, here am I. Call me, you call me.
All right, there it is. If you want those songs in their entirety, or and a whole lot of other songs as well, go to cooperray.com. And again, great.
And if I can also
Yes.
also OCP.org would also be able
they'd
to get
appreciate it if you.
That's right. They have the music.
So they'll actually produce your third album, right?
That would be fantastic.
OCP.org or cooperray.com,
right.
and get that. Support local Catholic artists. Don't have a lot more time, but again, Cooper and his wife Laura have two sons. They're parishioners at St. Anne's Parish in Capel. And tell us a little bit about your new position with the diocese, Associate Director of Discipleship, Office of Youth, the Young Adult, and Young Adult and Campus Ministry.
Right, yeah. It's kind of a daunting task, really. Jason brought me on because he wanted somebody who had kind of a grasp of what discipleship is, evangelization, and through my ministry that I've done over the years, for the past 9 years on the road, and I've also held a diocesan position for 10 years back a while back in the Diocese of Baton Rouge. And so I think through my experience of doing that, he was really looking for someone to come in and be able to assess what's going on in the Diocese of Dallas and really push the youth ministers, the young people, the parishes to think beyond just, hey, let's evangelize, but what does it mean to truly walk daily with the Lord, and it's one of those lofty goals again, but I think it's something that as I've traveled around, I've started to talk to people, I really get to know what this diocese is all about, which, I've had my little tiny view of it. The job is kind of presenting itself with each time I speak with somebody. It kind of tells me where and in what direction I will be going with this. Mm-hmm. Certainly there were directives laid out as part of the job description, but I'm coming to realize that that the job description is kind of nebulous in that it will be crafted by the needs that I've discovered through my talking to people all over the diocese. So right now, just kind of in that research mode and getting to know people and building those relationships so that, then in turn I can say, okay, this is where I think the direction we need to go in.
Yeah, and I'm sure your wife and boys are happy to have Dad with an anchor job in a sense that here in the Diocese of Dallas, and you're not necessarily with this job traveling all over the place.
Right, and that was always a stressor, for the family, and it's kind of a strain, and to be able to go to work in the morning and come home at night and not have to necessarily be gone for 2 and 3 days or even longer.
Starting to be like the rest of the world. They're regular people, right?
I know, it's hard to get used to.
Yeah, artists don't like the 9 to 5. I know that. It's like, wow, this is driving me crazy.
Right.
All right, Cooper Ray is his name. The website, put a .com at the end of his name, and you will find out more about him. His first album was Wake the Dawn. The more recent one, Anywhere for You, just came out about a month ago, in fact. And pick that up, and if people want to invite you to their parish to play, do they do that through the diocese or directly through you, or what?
Directly through me to that website, cooperray.com. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, and appreciate you coming in. Nice to meet you.
You're welcome.
And,
nice to meet you too.
Thank you, as I mentioned at the beginning, for using your talent for God's glory. I think if everybody did that, regardless of what your job is, even if you're not actively in ministry or discipleship, you can always try to use whatever talents we have for God's glory. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And thanks to Sophie for producing the program. Thank you for listening. And if you have an idea for who we should interview on this program, we run 2 of these a week, and I love it. I love meeting people here locally that are doing great things to build up the body of Christ, and so I'd love to hear from you as well. You can email me at davepalmer@grnonline.com. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend. God bless you.